Hi, I'm Olivia Harris, Miss Charm Wales 2023, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Hello, everyone. It's Adrian from the Pageant Project, and my first guest of 2023 is Olivia Harris, who is Miss Charm Wales 2023. Olivia, how are you?
I'm amazing. It's lovely to speak to you again. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was just telling Olivia before we went live on air that the Australian summer weather is better than the Welsh winter weather, but that's probably not going to surprise anyone. Olivia, it's just obviously been Christmas and New Year, so how was your festive period?
It was amazing. Like last year, I was stuck in Puerto Rico, so I couldn't celebrate with my family. So it was really nice to celebrate with my family this year.
You want to tell everyone who's not familiar why you were stuck in Puerto Rico? I mean, you weren't just traveling you were traveling obviously, but it wasn't for a
Yeah.
holiday. Why were you stuck in Puerto Rico?
So I went over to compete in Miss World in the November, and then I unfortunately got COVID on the last day, and then had to stay out there for an extra 2 weeks. So last Christmas was a lot sunnier than this one.
You were stuck. You were stuck in you poor thing. You had to
Stuck.
have a Puerto Rican summer rather than a Welsh winter. Just out of curiosity, because I don't think I ever got COVID, and everyone was different. How bad was it for you?
Well, I've had it 3 times now. So I know it's crazy. So I've had
Three?
it 3 times. Yeah, I had it in the August before. So I didn't even think I was going to have it.
Yeah,
And the day we tested, I felt absolutely fine. Like no symptoms, was nothing. So when it came back positive, I was so shocked. Like I could
right.
not believe it because I had no symptoms. And then all the way through, I had no symptoms other than a bit of a dry throat. But because it was such a hot country and my
Yeah.
roommate was Miss Scotland, we'd whack the aircon up like full blast all the time. So like aircon dries out your throat. So that's what I thought it was, but it wasn't. It was COVID.
I thought after you have it once, I know it's not quite like this, but I thought after you have it once, you're supposed to have some sort of
Yeah.
resistance or immunity to it. How? I don't think I've ever heard of anyone getting it 3 times. I've heard of people getting it twice. So what have you done wrong that you got so lucky that you managed to get it 3 times?
I don't know. I thought like the first time I got it was like right at the start when like COVID, like we all went into lockdown and stuff. I had it then. And then I got it in the August before flew out into like November, December time. So I
Yeah.
thought I was like still immune to it because there's supposed to be like that time frame where you're not
Yeah.
really supposed to get
Yeah.
it. So I was like, I'm fine. Like I know I'm okay. So then when I got it again, I was like, right, I was not fine.
Wow. Okay. Well, they talk about luck of the Irish. Luck of the
I know.
Welsh, obviously, is maybe not so good. I mean, if I take you back to then, it seems ages ago. I mean, that was your first ever pageant, wasn't it? Miss World Wales.
Yeah.
And
So that
when
was
you
my first
entered,
pageant.
you were 18, all of 18. Then we had the giant pandemic, which brought the whole world to a standstill. Then you won Miss Wales. Then eventually, when you got the chance, then you went international with your first ever pageant, and now you'll be going international again for your second pageant into Vietnam in February. How does it feel when I put it like that? I mean, your first two pageants, it's got to be a bit of a whirlwind, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was crazy because I was a finalist for 2 years because of COVID. So I entered when I was 16. So then I spent 2 years like competing as a finalist,
Yeah.
as you do. And then coming towards like when we all got like when the final was, I was crowned then in the September. I had literally like 10 weeks or something like that to prepare for Miss World, flew out to Miss World. Um, Competed at Miss World, came back, handed over in May. And then my original plan was to like take a whole year out and like figure out what I wanted to do next. Like maybe I was just gonna judge for a little bit and see how it all panned out. I wanted to look into other pageants that I could do, other systems. And then I had a call from my director who was like, there's like a pageant in Vietnam. They've been trying to run it now for like 3 years, but couldn't because of COVID.
Yeah.
They're like interested in you representing Wales over there. Like they run Miss World Vietnam. So it's all
Okay.
like pretty legit sort of thing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
how do you like feel about doing it? Just give me a call back, have a little think. So it didn't really take much persuading because I was like, it's an opportunity. Like I'm not going to pass up an opportunity to do an amazing pageant like that. So I was like, okay, off I go again.
Your director didn't have to twist your arm too much to get you
No,
to.
definitely not.
Have you ever? I know you've been doing a fair bit of traveling. So obviously you went to Puerto Rico for Miss World International, and then you were over in America just before I was in America, actually back
Yeah.
in July. Have you ever traveled to the Vietnam sort of area of the world, Southeast Asia?
No, I haven't. So this will be my first time. I was speaking to Noki about it actually because I know she went there for Grant.
Yeah.
Just to get some tips because I remember when I was over at Puerto Rico, like the humidity and the hair situation. So I was like, what's the situation over there? So I've got a few like ideas of what it's like, and I've seen like it looks like a beautiful country, and I can't
Mm.
wait to go.
Yeah, it will be fairly. I don't know what Noki told you. I've not been to Vietnam myself, but Southeast Asia. It's going to be humid. It's going to be
Yeah.
hot, and if it rains, it'll be a torrential downpour. You're going to spend a lot of time sweating, I imagine. I mean, obviously Noki is over. She's flown out now, hasn't she, for Miss
Yeah, she
Universe?
flew out, I think it was yesterday, I think,
It's
maybe the
can't.
day before.
I can't keep
I
track
know.
of all you guys
They
going
all
all
go
over the world.
fast.
It does. What tips did Noki give you for dealing with the Vietnamese heat?
So she was just warning me like it's like humid over there, so like the hair situation, your hair will frizz up, so like get some like proper like good oils and stuff for your hair, because I had the same issue in Puerto Rico where I would kill my hair, step outside, and it just go whoosh, within a matter of minutes. So
I,
I was like, so I was constantly doing my hair up.
I kind of,
So
your hair, I mean, now obviously you're in Wales, but your hair is always seeming to be so straight. Like, does it really
yeah.
frizz up in the humidity?
Yeah, it would go like frizzy at the ends, and then like all my curls would like drop out, and I was just like in the end I was just like putting it up and like sleeking it back all the time, to the point where I was having texts like loving the sleek look again. I can't
Easier,
do
isn't
anything
it?
about the
I mean,
humidity.
if you can't curl your hair, that actually saves you time, doesn't it? If you can just
It
slick it back.
does. It
Well, there you go.
100% does. I do it all the time now.
There you go. So you were 16. I need to go back to this. You were all of 16 when you first entered pageantry, so Miss World Wales. Now you're the ripe old age of 20, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So for most people, that's an incredibly formative time. Like you go through a lot when you're that age normally. You, over the last 4 years, you won an international, you've won your national pageant, you've traveled internationally to represent your country. You've been to America, you've been through a worldwide pandemic, etc., etc., etc. So can you just fill me in? How do you feel like you've changed or grown as a person over the last 4 years?
I definitely would say my confidence has grown quite a lot since entering Miss Wales. Like I was 16 when I first like entered, and I was quite shy, and I was a little bit like in on myself, and like so I've definitely pageantry's opened a lot of doors for me to become a better person, to work on my skills. And like even now I'm still growing as a person. Like I am still like watching interviews on how other people interview and stuff, because I'm still not like 100% like pageant perfect. Like, and I don't think there really is a thing, but at the same time, like I'm still growing and working on myself. So at the moment I just kind of take it like as it comes, take it a day at a time, and like I can see a massive change in myself, and I know everyone else says it around me, like you've grown so much as a person, you're so independent. Like I would have never have gotten a flight on my own and like traveled ever before pageantry, and then now I do it all the time. I do it non-stop, so I definitely say my confidence grown the most.
I can't remember, we spoke about this last time, but what actually got you into competing in pageantry in the first place?
So I've like I obviously heard of Miss Wales before. My second cousin, competed and won, and then she went on to win Miss Universe Great Britain as well.
Oh,
So yeah, so I kind of like had heard of it at a young age and like heard about it here and there. And then this is a bit of a weird story. I don't think I've told you this story before.
I don't think so,
So
no.
my family are always like going on about bettering yourself as a person. Like you should always do things to make yourself a better person and like work on yourself and grow. So I don't know whether you do this in Australia, but we have this thing called like the Duke of Edinburgh.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I had that at my
Yeah.
school. Yep.
And like you go hiking in the mountains and you got like it's like proper survival mode sort of thing, and you got
You
like
don't enter a pageant.
no. But anyway, I signed up to do that in like when I was in school.
Yeah.
So I signed up to do that. We did like a tester trial thing, and literally I came home. My mum had paid all this money for me to do it, and I was like, I can't do it. I'm not doing it. Like camping is not for me. Like we did a taste test. I'm not going through with it. I'm not doing a whole 4 days of it. No way. And she was like, live. And I was like, no, I can't do it. She was like, well, you've got to do something to grow and better yourself. So I had a little bit like more of a look into the pageant thing. And I was like, right, I'm just going to apply and see what happens. You know, I might not even get introduced as a finalist. Like I'll think nothing of it and I'll just enter it. So I did. And then I got through as a finalist. And like, that's how it kind of like sparked up. So it went from Duke of Edinburgh to pageants.
I got to say, like, I'm with you. We had to go camping when I was in school. We had the Duke of Ed at our school, and the very first time, bear in mind, obviously it's in Australia. The first time we went camping, got there, it pelted down with rain. The entire ground was muddy. All the water went in the tents because they were school tents, and so that they weren't waterproof. And then the first activity they had us do is abseiling. So like rock climbing, except you're going down. And I kid you not, I was halfway down the first abseil of my life and it begun to hail. So I'm wet, I'm miserable, and now I'm stuck halfway down a rock face and it begun hailing. So I think if I had a choice, I think I might have entered Miss World Wales as well. So you entered Miss Wales basically to get out of doing Duke of Ed. I've never heard that story before. That's a first.
No.
Was it anything like what you expected though? In terms of entering a pageant?
Probably not, no. I entered it and I was just like, I'm going to see how it goes. I looked into it. It looked like good fun. So I was like, I'll have a little look. And then you go for when you do your interviews to get introduced as a finalist and get put through as a finalist, the director does like a whole like presentation to like basically show you what you're signing up for. And like I met the most like amazing girls there, and like I came out and I was like, I love it. Like that's what I want to do, you know, like after like the introduction thing. And I was just like, I love it. I literally prayed that I was a finalist. So then when I got through to being a finalist, I was like, oh my gosh. Because I didn't expect it to be like that. I think everyone has like this false persona of what pageantry is like, and it actually is like nothing how you expect it to be, you know?
Yeah. Well, so then how did you feel? I think we talked about this last time when we had you on the podcast, but when you were announced as the winner, I remember your photo now. You were doing one of those, there's a famous painting that's like a woman covering her face. What emotions, what thoughts were running through your head when you realized that you had won?
I was very shocked, like so shocked to the point where my mum actually thought I was going to pass out on the stage. And like afterwards, she was like, "You just like I didn't know what to do with myself. It was a complete like pinch me moment. Like I couldn't believe it was happening because all the girls I was competing with were so amazing, like literally flawless. They were a lot older than me. They had a lot more experience, and they were flawless. Where like I know like everything I did wasn't perfect, so I was just kind of like, it's okay. Like I'm just here for fun, because if I don't enjoy myself, I won't do it again. Like if I don't enjoy it, that's it. So I was just trying to enjoy it and soak up everything. So when I got announced, I was just literally like, I can't even describe.
Well, I remember the photo.
Absolute
You remember
shock.
that photo? There's a photo of you with your hands over your mouth. I'm glad you didn't pass out because you're quite
Me
tall.
too. My mum was like, your face, you were going to pass out. I was like, I wasn't, but thanks.
You ever passed out before?
No.
No, okay.
No, it just like I think it was the complete initial shock of it all, that like for me and my family as well,
Yeah.
Like, it was just crazy.
Okay. I want to ask you about your Miss World experience, but just before that, have you actually now gone camping at all? Or
No.
glamping? No. Do you have any intentions of ever going camping?
Absolutely not. That taste tester was enough for me.
What was it that what exactly did you end up tasting? What was it that really just like, oh no, I'm not doing this again. This is not for me.
So they came in, they did like a whole presentation, they made it so they were like, it's gonna look amazing on your CV, like it
Yeah.
is the best experience ever. So we went, right, and it was like in like the mountains, and like
Yeah.
you had to put up your own tents, like you literally
Yes.
had to fend for yourself. Like it was literally like you had to
Yes.
cook beans on a stove, it was cold and it was damp and it was raining. And I remember just sitting there and thinking, I'm not doing this for 4 days. Like, no way. And then you had to like go hiking up mountains, and like I don't mind like a little mountain hike. Like I go up Pen y Fan with my friends sometimes, but
Yeah.
it was like in the blistering cold in the rain. They were like, "Oh, we're just gonna climb up this mountain and back down." Like, oh, I'm not doing that.
It seems like you thought the whole thing was quite unnecessary. Like we don't need to do this. We could be inside a proper building, not having to fend. But
Yeah.
beans is not that bad though. Beans on a stove, and I mean,
But
how long?
they were like it was like lukewarm. It was like over a fire. They weren't like edible beans. It was like on a fire. I was
So
just like, no, I'm not doing
if
this.
I told you that I frequently eat cold baked beans, then obviously you would be, yeah,
That's
exactly, yeah.
criminal.
I don't understand that. It's in a can. It's cooked. It's not raw. Just eat it. So there's no chance of you ever going camping then. Have you ever thought about going glamping? The whole,
Glam?
oh, I'm camping, but you're actually like basically in a hotel.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I mean, that's something I could possibly look into. Like, if it's like I've seen those like like those like nice little TikToks, and they have like the glamping pods, and it's all like cute, and they have somewhere to actually like shower. Like I could do that.
Well, my first camp, I never had a glamping experience because I think if you're going to go camping, you have to do it properly. But my first, and I will say almost my last camping experience, we didn't even have toilets. We literally had to dig a trench. That's what it was like. So, yeah, no, that's what
That
real
would be a
camping is like.
no. I know, but
No,
I could never.
no digging. Never say never. There's a first time for everything. Remember, it was in
Very
Australia
true.
too, so we've got giant spiders and everything to make it even more exciting. But
Snakes.
before I traumatize you too much, I didn't get to ask you this last time because when you were on the podcast, it was before you went to Miss World. So how was that international experience for you? Obviously, it didn't end the way any of us wanted because there was a
Yeah.
COVID outbreak and the pageant had to be postponed. You guys were basically sent home, and then it was it came back together.
Scheduled.
Yeah. But how was the experience up until that point?
Oh, it was amazing. Like the best experience of my life. Like I've made so many like friends from that experience. Like me and my Miss Scotland, we go on holiday together. We currently FaceTime each other. Like it's been like the best experience of my life. Like hands down. Like from start to finish. I know it even didn't finish great,
Yeah.
but it like bonds you and your friends, like you girls, for life. Like nothing else can change that, And like the organization was amazing, like everything was spot on, perfect. I mean, there was a few situations where you had to like rush to get ready and things like that, but other than that, it was just amazing, hands down.
And you remember any of the details? Like you got there first day. I mean, what was, obviously you had a great time. And you hate camping, but obviously you loved your Miss World experience. So
Yeah.
what was it that you enjoyed most about your international experience?
Well, because we were over there for 4 weeks, we had quite a jam-packed schedule. So
Yeah.
every day there was plans for us to do stuff, and whether it was like a little competition thing between us girls or going out into the streets of Puerto Rico. There was this one thing that we did that I absolutely loved, and it was like a Christmas festival that they have on every year. And we were on one of like the like cart things, and we were all waving our flags, and they had like proper like drummers there. It was honestly amazing. And like in that moment, I was like, wow, like this is actually insane. Like I can't believe I'm here and I've made all these friends and we're just dancing on this car, waving our flags around. Like it was honestly amazing. But we were pretty busy every day. I don't think we had like one day where we could just like chill. It was very hectic all the time.
Sounds like you had a better experience than you would have had at Duke of Ed. I know that
Yeah,
Duke of Ed
100%.
doesn't finish with representing your country and waving a flag on top of a cart in Puerto Rico. I mean, how long was it kind of normal until it had to be cancelled? Did you kind of know? Did they warn you
Yeah.
that it might have to be cancelled, or was it just very sudden? What happened in that respect?
So for like the first 2 weeks, like we were COVID testing like regularly, and it was absolutely fine. Like the whole way through, like no girls were testing positive.
Mm,
And then during the last 2 weeks, then a few girls would like drop out here and there. And like we didn't think
right.
anything of it because like by the time that they had 2 weeks of quarantine would be over, it'd be the final. So it was fine. Then the last week, it was like everyone was just dropping like flies. Like you'd go into dress rehearsal and 4 girls would have got pulled out. Like it was that bad. Like
Yeah.
it was like wildfire.
Yeah.
So we then did our dress rehearsal and they were like, right, we're gonna like film bits tonight because we don't know what's gonna happen. So we all kind of had a little bit of an inkling then that it's probably not going to go through with it because you can't compete with half the girls not there.
Yeah.
So we did the dress rehearsal. We filmed some of like the dance routines and stuff that we'd been working on. The next day we went down for breakfast and then our chaperones then pulled us to a side and was like, girls, it's not happening. Like you're gonna get COVID tests today and then we're gonna send you home tomorrow because we just can't go through with it.
Yeah.
So then obviously all that happened. Then I got COVID, had to stay over there. And then they were like, we'll reschedule it then. So then they rescheduled it a few months later. I can't remember what the exact date.
It was to the following year, wasn't it? It would have been
Yeah.
early in January or February 2022.
Yeah, I think it may have been February.
Yeah. So I mean because they selected a bunch of girls to go back. I can't remember how many. You didn't make that cut. So that must have been quite a disappointing way for the whole thing to finish.
Yeah. I mean, it was disappointing, and me and Miss Scotland spoke about it, and we both decided that we were going to go on holiday at the same weekend that it was on. So we were like, we can just celebrate our time being Miss Wales, Miss Scotland. We're going to go enjoy ourselves. We're going to just book our little girly holiday and just go away for a few days. And that's what we did because there's like no point in like getting upset and stuff. Like we did the best we could.
Exactly.
We represented our country. Like not many people can say that, oh, I've been to Miss World. Like not many people at all. So we were just like, let's just have a bit of fun and go away for a little bit. So that's what we did.
I remember seeing, I think, some of your Instagram stories. I think it was iced coffee, wasn't it? Don't you live on iced coffee?
It was so bad. Like every day at Miss World, me, Claudia, Miss Scotland, and Sade, who was Miss Sri Lanka, we'd all go to like this little coffee shop because it was a resort. Because usually they hold it in a hotel and you stay on your floors, but because it was a little resort, we had a little bit more freedom to like go to the local resort shop, go to the cafe. So we go to the cafe in the morning and get iced coffee every day without fail, like without fail. And it's really bad actually. Like every single morning we wake up and we're like, oh, can't wait for our iced coffee.
Okay, so how do you take your iced coffee?
So I have iced coffee with 2 shots of vanilla and oat milk.
Okay, so yeah, it's not. Have you ever had it just straight black? I mean, iced, but have you ever had just straight black coffee?
I've tried straight black coffee, but not iced coffee. But it's given me like headaches because it is very strong, like the caffeine intake in it. So I've kind of swayed away from that. I have to have like a little bit of milk in it.
I still think you'd make an excellent ambassador for coffee. Where near you, where's the best coffee? I've had issues with finding. Oh, not Starbucks.
I love Starbucks.
Starbucks doesn't make coffee. Starbucks, it's like most of the drinks that come out of there, it's like 95% cream, sugar, vanilla, hazelnut, some sort of syrup. Have you? I have black coffee, so I'm a coffee snob. So when I have you can tell if someone can't make a coffee because if they just have it black, it can taste it. Anyway, I won't go on about it. What's your favorite Starbucks drink to get? Is it iced coffee again? That one you just
Yeah,
said?
it is iced coffee. But lately I've been having just like normal lattes because of the weather. It's so cold. It's a bit silly to have iced coffee in really cold weather. So I've been having just like a normal vanilla latte now.
Okay. Well, that's not too. What, you just begin the morning with one? Or are we just saying like it happens, like you're having 3 or 4 during the day? Because one coffee a day is not too bad.
One coffee a day is not too bad, but I'll have one in the morning, and then sometimes if I'm feeling one in the afternoon, then I'll go grab one quickly.
That's fine. That's not too bad. I thought you were
No.
addicted to them, like having 5 or 6 a day. Let me ask you about your American trip. Now, that wasn't for a pageant. It was something to do with, well, I'll let you talk about it, but empowerment and leadership with young people. Actually, now that I think about it, from seeing your photos, it kind of looks like a Duke of Ed camp, Liv. But what were you doing over in America, and how did that come about?
So before I handed over my crown for Miss Wales, I had a call from a camp in Massachusetts, and it was like a girls empowerment camp, and they were looking good for girls to like come over and be like a counselor for this girls empowerment camp. So I thought, why not? Because I'm going to be handing over. And then I don't really know what I'm going to do, sort of thing,
Yeah,
because I'm not going to be Miss Wales anymore. So I need something like to
keep
give
you
my
going.
life a bit more excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, okay, like go for it. Because obviously I used to do dance as well. So I was over there as a dance coach as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
then I flew out literally, I think it was like a month after I handed over, not long at all. So I flew over there and I spent the whole summer there working at this empowerment camp, which was amazing. It is a little bit like the Duke of Edinburgh. Like we stayed in like little bunks and things like that. And like the girls were amazing. And I really, really enjoyed the whole experience.
But what? How long did the camp run for? It was a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think it was like 6 weeks.
Quite a
Six
long
weeks, but
time.
then yeah, then you had to go like a week earlier for like to figure out who like what age group of kids you're with and things like that, like just suss everything out. So we were
Yeah,
over a week earlier as well. So it was like around, I would say 7 or 8 weeks in total. And then I went over to New York at the end of camp just to have a little bit of traveling as well.
it's a hard life. What? Run me through what sort of activities, what happened at the camp. I mean, women's empowerment is obviously a huge thing, and it's a huge part of what Miss Wales and pageantry in general is supposed to be about. So, what sort of activities were you getting the girls to do?
So it was more of like it was like a fun empowerment camp because these girls
Mhm.
age range from like 6 to like 15, 16. So
Okay.
they're still quite in that young age. So like a day-to-day run would be like we'd wake up our girls from our bunks and stuff. Then they would do like loads of activities during the day, whether it was dance, they used to do like waterboarding and things like that, arts and crafts. And it was just developed in them as a person. Like you'd be that person that they'd go to if they had any worries, any troubles.
Hmm.
And I was paired with quite like my girls were 13, so they were like going through those stages as every teenager does. They're quite like hormonal, and they have like this false persona of confidence and what it is, and being the loudest person in the room. And once you break down those barriers with those children, then you really see who they are as a person, and then you build them back up, basically, you know.
Yeah. I worked quite a lot with teenage girls when I was tennis coaching, and yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
The
Um,
dramas.
Well, yeah, no, yeah. I often say when you work with teenage girls, like it was tennis coaching for me, but it wasn't so much about tennis coaching. It was more about life coaching, really, because
Yeah, it is.
almost always the big problems. And I don't know if you dealt with this when you're at the camp, but almost all the problems that come up, they're much more important than, at least in my case, tennis, because you have some girls who are going
100%.
through eating disorders, mental health. Some have parents that have separated. And I mean, the list of issues that, I mean, is endless. Is that what you found
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, I think as well. So the camp I was with, the parents were quite wealthy and stuff, but then the
Mhm,
other issues that they had going on just outweighed all the things that they had. And like
mhm.
they were honestly the best girls ever. Like they were so lovely, but you really have to break down those barriers in the
Yeah,
beginning. you know, because they'll come in, they came in like, I hate this camp.
Mm,
My parents just send me here because they don't want me around. Like, that's the
mm,
sort of vibe it was like. And it was so upsetting to see, because you know in your heart that that's not that girl. That's not the
yeah,
way this girl is. That they're just, this is an act. This is
yeah,
not. And then once you get to know them and they trust you, you break down those barriers, and then they start to open up, and then you can build them back up again to be like a stronger person, you know?
mm,
And like different situations which they would deal with different things wouldn't be the correct way. And that's where you can step in and be like, no,
yeah,
like, I'm going to deal with this a different way. I'm going to like speak it out, you know? And like at the end, to see it from the start to the end was just so rewarding. So rewarding.
yeah. I can imagine. Did it feel a little odd at all, given that when you were over there, you were still in your teens? Did it
Yeah.
did it feel kind of weird, or did it feel good, or did it feel both to sort of be this really formative person, at least in young girls' camp experience, that you're only maybe, let's say, 5 or 6 years ahead of them? I mean, I think life is not just years, it's measured in what you've done. So in your case, you've
Yeah.
done so much, it's probably not quite a fair comparison. But did it feel odd, or did it feel good that you were only maybe a few years older than them and
Mm.
hopefully able to help them a lot, guide them a lot?
Yeah. I think, to be honest, I was a little bit concerned about that as well. I was like only a few years young, like older than these
Oh,
girls. So like, are they going to take what I'm going to say like seriously or not? But I found it worked better because I was little bit more relatable because I only
mm,
only am a few years older than them. So it was easier for them to relate to me than someone who's 27, you know? So
yeah,
it was
abs-
easier to kind of get on their level and for them to like understand.
yeah. I mean, you said that most of the girls came from fairly wealthy families, and that's similar to myself when I was tennis coaching. The school I was working at, the school fees alone would tell you that the family has to be fairly wealthy to afford it. Do you feel that that in itself created some of the problems? Because there are some people who are not well off and are struggling, and that's terrible. And there's that sort of problem. But I think sometimes people look at girls who have wealthy parents or rich parents and go, oh, they can't have any problems. They must be all put together because they're wealthy. They probably have a large Instagram following, doing shopping hauls, etc., etc. Do you feel that in some ways the fact that their parents were wealthy might have created some of the issues that you were seeing?
Yeah, I think that no matter what, whether you're wealthy or haven't got as much money, I think no matter what can like that doesn't define your problems at home.
Mm,
It doesn't define any of that. So you could be not that well off and have problems at home, or you could be really well off and have problems at
yeah.
home. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't have a thing on it, you know? So I still found like girls who have money have
Mm,
other issues going on to other people who don't, you know? So I
yeah,
don't think it really has like a defined point.
absolutely. What was the most enjoyable or rewarding part for you? I mean, you were over there for a good amount of time, over a month. What was the most rewarding or fulfilling part?
I think definitely seeing the girls grow from where they were. Like I had this one girl, so I obviously taught dance whilst I was over there,
Mhm,
who hated dance. She didn't want to be in any dance lessons last year. Like she refused. And it was one of my dance coaches who were there last year. She was like, she did not take part last year at all. Like she would just skip this lesson. Like she wouldn't take part.
right.
This year she had a solo. She had a
Oh,
duet. She was in
okay.
like 4 group numbers for like our big finale show thing. And
Yeah.
like she won an award for like most improved. And she was so happy. And she was like, that's it now. Like I'm going home and I'm taking dance lessons. Like it was like that. And like seeing that, like just even that growth in that one girl, like how much you've made a difference was like just so rewarding.
Oh, how did you get her to enjoy dance? I'm really curious because I hate dancing, and I will say I'm no good at it. When you're over 6 foot tall and you're a little bit heavy footed, it's not a good look. How did you get her to enjoy dance?
Well, personally, I let them pick their like own sort of like what style do you want to do? Like,
Mhm.
don't force someone who to do ballet who doesn't want to do ballet if they want to do hip hop. Like, what
Yeah.
sort of music do you want to dance to? Like, if you pick a song, we can make a dance to that song. We can work on it,
Okay.
you know. And I find if they've got a song they enjoy, and if they have like the sort of like style of dance they enjoy, it's pretty easy from there. And like if there was a dance move that they wasn't too sure with or something, like we would either work on it or just cut it out. So we'd only do like stuff that they were like comfortable doing, because some dance moves are really like awkward and twisty. So just keeping it at that level where they can keep up with you.
Yeah. Well, that sounds amazing. I think I feel about I feel about dance the same way you probably feel about camping. So I'm not sure. There's just me and dance don't see eye to
No.
eye. But you were over there for 6 weeks, and then you went to New York. I mean, I have to ask, was that your first time in New York?
Yeah, it was.
How did you find it? Did you spend any money? Did you eat any foods?
Yes. I ate so many foods whilst I was there. I was only there for like 4 days, and like it's just an amazing city. And we were right in the city centre as well, which was amazing. So me and one of my friends who I was co-counselling with, she was like, let's go like fly to New York together before we go home.
Mhm.
It was a beautiful city, gorgeous. Like it literally looks how it looks in the movies. Like
Oh, yeah.
that's the only way I can describe it. You know,
Yeah.
some places don't look the same, but it looks exactly the same. It's exactly how you imagine it. Like there's always things going on everywhere you turn.
Yeah.
You know, and like the pizza was amazing.
I was going to ask. Okay, so when I went to New York, the one thing that first thing I remember is that what you said, it's like, it literally is like in the movies and TVs. It's always on, it's always bustling. There's always something to do, which is why I think you either love New York or you hate it. Because if you want things to be quiet, I think it'd be very difficult in New York to just, have some time to yourself. The second thing I remember though is the pizza, that thick, I don't know what sort of pizza you get in Wales,
Yeah.
but in Australia, that's not the sort of pizza that we have. That really thick crust, a lot of cheese. Is that the pizza that we're talking about?
Yeah, it was so good. I have
Sounds like
dreams
you
about
miss
that
it.
pizza.
So you came now. I wanted to ask you about something because I think I read somewhere that after you came back from that, you had a change in career. Am I hallucinating that, or is that
No, you're
accurate?
right. Yeah,
Okay,
you're
so
right.
tell me about what happened. So you, at your age, I mean, it's quite normal for people to be trying not only different jobs but different careers. So walk me through what happened after you got back from America.
So I flew back, and obviously I was a beauty and spa therapist before I flew
Mm,
over. And I do love that job. I really enjoy it, but don't find it as rewarding as I did in America. And I was like, I kind of want to go into something with like working with children. Like, so I went online and I started looking for jobs, and this one came
mm,
up to work in a primary school. So I was like, okay. So I applied, got the job. So I'm now a teaching assistant. I'm a one-to-one in the morning for an
right.
autistic child.
Hmm.
And then in the afternoon, I'm a teaching assistant in the class. So
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about this. I'm curious as to your reasoning because obviously beauty and spa therapist, pageantry in general, it's very glam. A lot of you guys love your
yeah.
beauty products and you know everything about it. I don't know anything about it, but that's sort of one facet of your personality, right? That you love getting
Mm,
glammed up. You love feeling good by getting glammed up. There's that side. I've worked with children and I know it's not, it's almost in a way the opposite. It's not glamorous at all. It can be very challenging. It can be very tiring, depending on every age group has its challenges. We've talked about teenagers working with young kids that I've also done that has its whole other set of challenges. Sometimes they're going crazy, you're running around and you just like, what am I doing here? So how have you found the switch? I guess why did you want to make the switch? Because in my mind, they're quite different fields.
yeah. So I've grown up with an autistic sister like all my life. Like she has had her challenges and her needs. So I found it quite easy adjusting into
Hmm.
working with an autistic child in a primary school because it's the same needs, you know?
Right.
Obviously there's slight things you'll need to adjust with different children because not everyone's on the same spectrum, but
Yeah.
so I have like been obviously brought up around it and stuff. So then when I went to America as well, and I was working with children there, and I have like a real passion for it. Like I've kind of like found my like
Hmm.
passion, I think, you know, and
Hmm.
I loved it. And when I went back to my normal job, I was like, I love this job, I do, and I still work there on
Yeah.
like in the holidays and on the weekends, but I need to find something that's more suitable for me.
Mm.
something I'm going to get out of as well, because I feel like you learn from them just as much as they learn from you.
Yeah.
Like just little things like, oh, I won't do that next time, but this time I'm going to try this, like just things like that. So I found my like thing, and I was just like,
Mm.
oh, and I love it. I love my job.
Where do you think, I mean, it's great that you found your thing at such a young age, because many people much older have not found their thing. But where do you feel that it will go? Like, where are you hoping that it will take you, let's say, in a year or two from now?
Well, I haven't really thought about that just yet. I'm still quite young. I have
Yeah.
found my passion with working with children, and I know I probably will work with children in the future. Not
Yeah.
100% sure what doing just yet, but I'm just taking it a days at a time at the moment, seeing where it goes.
Fair enough. At your age. Um, just in terms of autism, I want to ask, because I've had that brought up a couple of times in the pageant space. A couple of the beauty queens competing have said they're autistic. Now, I've not worked with autistic kids. I've worked with kids with Down syndrome and ADHD and things like that, and each one is different in the terms of how you might interact with them. In terms of, and for people watching this, if someone is working with someone who has autism, and obviously there's varying levels on that spectrum, what are some of the advice you would give to someone who is going to be working or is working with someone who has autism? Do you treat them exactly like you would a normal person, or are there some particular things to be wary of?
I would say I treat everyone like completely exactly the same. I won't treat anyone
Mhm.
different. But what I would say is to be patient, you know,
Okay.
be patient when they're, because sometimes it's hard for them to, because everyone's brain works in different ways, and it's
Mhm.
hard for them to sometimes comprehend what you're saying, or there's a reason for the way they're acting. They're not acting that way for no reason. So it's just to be
Yeah.
patient with them, wait for them to explain to you, which is what I've learned. Like, there's no point in like telling them off. Like, you gotta be
Yeah.
patient with them and like make them understand what they've done wrong. Like working with autistic children is very difficult. Like, I've worked with charities with children with autism and stuff. It is very difficult because the slightest thing can trigger like an outburst and stuff. Like, it could be anything. And after a while you start to learn what like ticks them,
Yep.
what
Yep.
not to
Yep.
do to set them off, sort of thing. So just be patient with it. Like, just stay with it and be patient. That would be my advice.
And if they have an outburst, as you said, I think it's also important to remember that it's not about you, right? It's not necessarily
No,
they're reacting to you.
100%.
It's
100%.
something, it's not like that you've done something wrong. It's something, as you said, to do with them. And then it's really important to be patient.
You gotta be patient. Don't get angry with them. Be patient with them. They'll calm down, and then you can talk to them. Like I always say to the child I look after, I say, I'm gonna give you a second. Once you calm down and you're ready to speak to me, come talk to me. And then after a while, they'll calm down and they'll come over and they'll say, This is what annoyed me. And like, well, what
Right.
can we do to improve that then? Like, what can we do to change
Yeah.
that, to stop that happening again? There's no
Yeah.
point in, because you shout at them or tell them off, it'll
It just
make the
gets
whole
worse.
it'll escalate the situation. And I've
Yeah.
learned that with my younger sister as well. If you like
Yep.
tell them off or say you can't do that, it'll
No.
escalate the situation to a
Hmm.
whole new level. You've got to be patient.
Yeah. There's no point of pouring fuel on the fire, so to
100%.
speak. Does the fact that you were Miss Wales come up at all when you're working with the kids? I mean, did it come up at all in the camp?
It did come up in the camp. I have like a little book of like my Miss Wales journey that I made.
Okay.
I made it for my grandma originally, my grandma, my ganga, and then I made one for my family as well. So I took it over with me, and I would show my girls, and they'd be like, because it's massive in America. I didn't realize how big
I
it
would
is in
say
America.
much bigger
It's
than in
huge.
Wales. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, this is amazing. Like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, like, what are you doing here? That's what I tell them all the
Yeah.
time.
Slumming it. What are you doing at slumming with us? Yeah, because over there, so you Miss World Wales. Obviously, there is a Miss
Yeah.
World America, and Miss World is one of the biggest pageants in the world. So were the girls a little bit blown away by the fact that you were
Yeah.
a Miss World contestant and you were slumming it with them, so to speak?
Yeah, they loved it. They were like, we need to take selfies and then we got to post them on Instagram. And then when I get home and I follow you, you got to follow me back because they're not allowed their phones inside the camp. They have to leave them. So like when I get
Okay.
home and I follow you, you have to follow me back so I can say Miss Wales follows me.
Okay. All right. Did you follow them all back?
Yeah, I did. Bless them.
Fair enough. Does the fact that you're Miss Wales come up in your day to day now, or teaching the young kids?
Not the young ones because I feel like they're
Yeah,
too young to understand. But with the other members of staff, yeah, it has come up a few times and people have gone, I've Googled you.
I've googled you. I hope
That's
any
happened a few times.
I hope any good stuff comes up when they find out when they Google you and find out, oh, this young lady was Miss World Wales. What's the normal first reaction that you get?
Well, it's usually like, you didn't tell us. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then my one coworker, who I'm quite close to now, she was like, I've told every single person I've ever met in my life that I work with Miss Wales.
So it's a point of bragging for them. They get to show you off, so to speak. Tell me more about the Miss Charm system. Is it coming up in February?
Yeah, so I fly out the 2nd of February. So it's not
Okay.
long to go now, but I feel more prepared this time because I know
Yeah.
what to expect from an international pageant. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I know what I need to pack. I know what I need to get. Like, I think the only difference really is there's a bikini round in this one, which they don't have at
Okay.
Miss World. So I've had like a whole schedule sent through to me the other day of like what's happening, what's going on, what I'll need. So I'm getting all that sorted. So I feel a lot more calm this time because when I went to Miss World, I had like 10 weeks, never been to an international pageant before. And me and my mum were literally just running around like headless chickens, trying to get everything sorted. Like, it was crazy, like absolute madness. So I feel a lot more prepared this time.
Right. So what are the different sections that you'll be? So you said this is the first Miss Charm, because I was sort of looking back, and I know they had tried to start it before, but
Yeah.
pandemic, made it impossible. So what are the different rounds that you'll be competing in for Miss Charm?
So there's national costume,
Hmm.
then there's the bikini round, and then
Hmm.
there's ball gown, like evening wear. So
Right.
those are the 3 categories. So it's similar to Miss Universe.
Right.
So they
Is
do
there
the
any
national, bikini, and evening.
offstage component? Is there any interview or question and answer?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is an interview. There's a closed door interview.
Right.
I think they might do question and answer on stage as well. I'm not 100% sure though.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's their first time going through, they might be adjusting it as well. How
Yeah.
long does will the pageant be going for? Because obviously Miss World is one of the longer ones. It goes for about a month, which is a very long time to try to be pageant perfect. How long is Miss Charm going for?
It is only 2 weeks, so it's not too bad.
Okay,
So I
so
won't
it's
have
a
to take as much stuff.
it's a bit more compressed then.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to?
Actually, I'm most looking forward to, there's a few of, well, one I know of like so far, ex like Miss World girl. So there's a few
Right.
ex Miss World girls going.
Yeah.
So I'm quite like excited to like get reunited with them.
So you're going to have a catch up.
Yeah, I think it'd be lovely. Like we could compete at Miss World together, and I'm competing at Miss Charm together as well. So I think that would be really nice. And I'm so excited
Yeah.
to see Vietnam as well. That's another thing I'm excited for.
Do you have any plans to travel around Vietnam after the pageant, before the pageant, or is that part of what you're doing at the pageant? They'll be taking you around Vietnam to see the sights.
I think they are taking us around to do a few little tour things. But I was hoping to stay for a few extra days, but I don't know
Mhm.
whether I'll be able to. I'll have to see with work, see if I can book it off for a bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a shame if you fly all the way there to not spend
Can't
at
see
least a
it.
few extra days. Um, what does Miss Charm stand, as I said, it's because it's a new system. So does Miss Charm have a particular advocacy or something that it stands for? Obviously, Miss World has what it stands for, Universe, Grand, etc., Miss Earth. Where does Miss Charm fit in?
Miss Charm is like about promoting tourism to your country and about
Okay.
your country's culture. And as a proud Welsh girl, I thought that's proper up my street. So I was like, yeah, It's perfect.
Okay, so tell me about Wales as a proud Welsh girl. I've spent a bit of time in Wales because my ex-girlfriend was living in Wales, so I spent a bit of time there during winter. I might add, I wasn't impressed. It began snowing and
Did
raining,
it?
and then it was cold. It was just it was miserable. But in terms of tourism and Wales, and I do know that you Welsh are very proud of being Welsh. So tell me more about Welsh, or tell the people watching more about Welsh tourism. What is there to see? What would you recommend to see and do or try in Wales?
So I would definitely say try our Welsh cakes
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
they're amazing. Our Welsh cakes are the best kind of cake you'll eat in your life. It's basically like a flatbread with currants in it and sugar on top, and it's just beautiful. I think we're the country with the most castles in it ever. So you can visit all the castles,
Okay.
all of them. We have Welsh museums like St. Fagans, where it is literally like as soon as you walk through the thing, you go outside and it's like what old Wales used to look like old houses, like it's like
Yeah.
an old Welsh village inside, which is really cool. We have the rugby, and nothing beats the rugby. And if
When
you
I
haven't
was
seen,
when I was in Wales last, it was the World Cup, and every time Wales was playing, you couldn't go anywhere.
we are very proud of our rugby. I mean, if you haven't seen a Welsh rugby match, you should, especially if it's England versus Wales. Like that's the best. That is the best game you
Yeah.
can go and see ever.
It's the best
The
game you can go and
atmosphere.
see if Wales wins, I'm assuming. If Wales doesn't win, then it's probably not the best game ever. You've been to America, okay? Could you explain to an American what rugby is?
I could try. I would probably say it's basically where you have two teams and they like throw a ball at each other and try and get it over like a big H-shaped goal. And in between, they do like scrums where they all like scrum up together and tackle each other.
It's a bit
That's
different
like
to American football, right? I mean, when rugby football, and then when Americans talk football, they're
yeah,
thinking very, very different. I don't think they have rugby over there at all, so I don't think they know about scrums or things like
no.
that.
I think the American football is similar
Yeah.
to rugby, isn't it?
No,
Or
American
is it
football is
not?
the ones with a quarterback. It's the one where they throw the ball in a tight spiral.
Oh,
They
okay.
have the people up front, and then they
Yeah,
throw the ball to the quarterback, and the quarterback calls the play and chucks the ball. Whereas rugby, it's a lot more kicking. So that's why I
yeah.
think like a lot of Americans would be very, very confused, because obviously in the UK there's cricket as well, and trying to explain cricket to an American, you've never seen
It's
such
difficult
confusion in your
because
life.
I did see a baseball game when I went to America, though.
Okay, can you explain baseball to me?
No, I had no idea what was going on the entire time.
Is it quite a because Americans will complain about cricket that it's a bit of a slow sport, and I can understand that because in Test cricket at least it's 5
Yeah.
days. Baseball though, is it a
It's so
fast-paced
long.
sport? I was
No,
going to
it's
say.
really long. We were
So how long
like
were you? How long were you there for at the baseball
we
game?
were there probably it was quite long, probably maybe 2.5 hours. And we left a little bit earlier because we wanted to miss all like the craziness after. So we left a little
Right,
bit earlier.
right.
So it's a long game. Very
From
long.
the look on your face, you look like you probably
I
wasn't your
had no
favorite game to
idea.
watch.
Well, I had to go because I feel like if you're going to like
Yeah.
America and there's a baseball game on, you kind of gotta go. So I went with a few of my friends, and it was in Boston. We went down to watch it, and it was like the Red
Okay.
Sox game or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's a big team, the Red
yeah,
Sox, and you're just
and
there looking very confused.
yeah, the entire time I enjoyed it. I had no idea what's going on.
You should have gone into. You went to New York. You should have taken in a basketball game.
I know. I really wanted to see a basketball game, but I
Yeah.
don't think there was many running when we were in New York.
Okay. Right. I was going to say I'd be much more keen to go and see a
Me
basketball
too.
game because I understand, but I played basketball. Baseball, I have no idea really what's going on, and it takes, as you said, a very long time. So you're about to fly out in a month or so. So you said you're feeling calmer this
I
time than before.
am. I feel like last time was crazy. Like it was. Oh, I took like two suitcases to Miss World as well for 4 weeks. Like that's how much I didn't have an idea of how much I would need. Like
Two suitcases doesn't sound like a
two
lot.
two suitcases, including like ball gowns and stuff. That's what I took to Miss World. Halfway through the journey, like halfway through the trip, I was like, I'm running out of clothes. Like, what am I gonna do? And then Paula, my director, was gonna fly out to come watch.
Yeah.
So I remember texting Paula, was like, is there any chance if my mum drops a
can bring me
suitcase to your
clothes.
house, can you bring extra clothes? She was like, yeah, I'll bring you a suitcase to you. So me and Miss Scotland, a pair of us, were ordering clothes, sending the clothes to my house. Every day my mum would like open the door and there'd be like hundreds of parcels from me and Claudia. And then I had to get another case sent over then. So I feel a lot more prepared this time.
But that's good. How many suitcases are you taking over this time?
Probably 2. I feel like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
2 suitcases would make sense.
It's half the length. So yeah, 2 suitcases sounds probably right for 2 weeks. Doesn't sound right for 4 weeks unless you're a very good packer. Have you sorted out everything in terms of wardrobe? I mean, you said there's a national costume. That's always the interesting one because you have to come up with something that represents the Welsh dragon, so to speak. So is that all squared away now?
Pretty much. There's a few like minor little details that we just need to add and figure out, but it's pretty much done now. And then my final dress, I am going down to Swansea tomorrow to have a little look at what I'm looking for. I'm a lot more chilled out this time. Like, I don't know why. I just feel a lot more.
You seem like a fairly calm person in general. I mean, do you really ever freak out? You speak quite calmly, quite slowly. It doesn't look like you'd get frazzled.
Yeah, I am quite a chilled person, I would say, but the weeks coming up to Miss World, I was a bit frazzled, I will say. But generally, I am very calm. When Mum always says, I'm surprised you get anything done with your attitude.
Yeah, there's calm and then there's kind of laid back. And then like just sometimes, you got to walk the fine line between I'm just lying back doing absolutely nothing. Now, I know a lot of other people would ask this. So, do you have any pageant plans in the future? You already said that after World, you wanted to take a bit of a break. Then you got the opportunity, you jumped on it, which makes total sense. After this one, have you thought about that? Because I know that people are going to ask as soon as you come back, what's next? What's next? What's next?
I've thought about other different pageant systems, but I'm not like fully committed. I do know that I would like to do Miss Universe GB at some point. Like, so I feel like every pageant girl has to give it a bit of a go, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's like the big one that I think everyone would like to do and win. So that's when I would definitely say I will do that in the future. But for the other ones, I'm not 100% sure yet. We'll see.
Do you feel like you want to live a little bit more life before you enter another pageant?
Yeah, I would see. The thing with me is I was going to say I was going to take a year out this year, but then now I'm doing Miss Charm. So I'm kind of just taking it a step at a time at the moment, seeing what's next. Because like you can't really pass up opportunities, you know? Like if I didn't do it, I would so regret not doing things like this. So I'm just seeing how it goes, seeing how it all plans out.
I guess, I mean, you were only 16 when you entered Miss World, and Miss World Wales, most people would say you want to probably be in your mid-20s before you enter that. So you bucked the trend there. I know you were over I think it was in Dubai with Emma Collingridge. So if you ever do decide to enter Miss Universe GB, obviously you have someone who knows the ropes, so to speak.
100%.
Did you guys have a good time in Dubai? I mean, it looked awful with the sun and the sand, and that's just terrible.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I flew over there with my family. So I went over with my family, and Emma was over at the same time. So we were like, we have to see each other. Like we're both in Dubai, so then we bumped into each other, and it was really nice to catch up with her. And she's like stayed over here a few times. She was there for my handover. Like, me and Em are like really good friends now.
Nice. I saw a photo that the two of you took together. You made her look quite short, which I thought
I was
was
almost
quite
touching
funny.
the skyscrapers, though. That's how tall I am.
How tall are you? 179.
I'm 5 foot. I would say 5'11"
11?
now. Yeah, so I'm very tall.
That's
and with
tall.
heels as well. Talking about 6 foot.
This is when I'm most glad that I'm over 6 foot, is when I'm around you guys in pageant land, so I don't feel really, really short. But I think even for myself, if you put on heels, I'd still be looking up at you, which I'm not used to. But that's a good height to be. Olivia, before we get to the final 10 questions, is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out
to? Probably you guys at the Pageant Project, and all the other pageant sites that have like helped me on my journey, because like I'd be nowhere without you guys. So I just want to say thank you to all of you.
I haven't done anything. I've just talked to you.
You have supported me on my journey from the start. You messaged me when I was over in Puerto Rico, in America. You guys have been supporting me from day one. So I'd like to say thank you.
You're welcome. I always have to support fellow coffee drinkers. It's nice to meet someone.
As you do.
Here, a question, just a random question. Do you drink tea as well? Because I don't think I've met many people who drink both coffee and tea. You're either one way or the other. So do you drink both?
Yeah, I do. It is weird. And when we were in Puerto Rico, me and Claudia would have a coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Maybe a coffee around afternoon. And then we'd go back to the room and have a cup of tea.
Okay. What would you turn into if I took all caffeine away from you?
Probably like Gollum or something. I don't know.
Would you still be so laid back if you didn't have your morning coffee? Would you still be very laid back?
Probably not. I feel like the coffee gets me going though. You know, right. Probably wouldn't do anything without that coffee.
You'd be lying in bed the whole day.
Yeah, I'd be lying in bed for a whole week.
Well, I hope that you find some good coffee in Vietnam. I'm sure they'll square you away. Otherwise, it won't be so good for you. All right, let's get to the final 10 questions. Now, you won the podcast last time, so we didn't go through these. So these are completely random questions. So here we go. Number 1, what is your favorite word?
Kutch.
Means hug. I know that one. Kutch. CWTCH.
Yeah, it's different to like a hug though. It's like a proper like a squeezy hug. It's like a kutch. I can't describe it, but only the Welsh can kutch.
I don't think I've ever had a Welsh kutch. I've had a Welsh love spoon. That's one thing you didn't mention.
That is,
Welsh
we
love
do
spoons.
those.
I love those. Those are cool because what is it? Each of the 3 parts has a different meaning, right? It's the spoon part itself, the handle, and then the top.
Yeah, and back in the olden days, the boys who, if you used to have a crush on a girl, you would give them a love spoon.
That's cool. That's cool. I'll have to see if I can bring that back. I think that's much more original than a bunch of flowers. All right, number 2. What is your least favorite word?
Bubbly. I hate that word.
Why?
Well, it's not my fault I hate this word, because I never used to see a problem with this word. And then I went to like the Miss Wales training day where all like the finalists go and get basically trained on different things, interview skills. My director kept drilling it into girls' heads. Don't say bubbly in an interview. It doesn't actually mean anything. Like, you're extrovert. You're not bubbly. Right. And it's been drilled into my head so much to the point now where if I'm judging in a pageant, when the girl comes in, I'm like, please don't say bubbly. Please don't say bubbly. Please, please, please don't say it. Because most people do say it. They're like, describe yourself in 3 words and they'll say bubbly. But it's just been drilled into my head now where I just can't stand that word anymore.
That's a first. I've had several girls say their favorite word is bubbles, but I don't think I've ever had anyone say their least favorite word is bubbly. I thought you meant like a glass of champagne, glass of bubbly.
No, that's fine.
What are they going to say? Okay, what's wrong with champagne? We just came out of New Year's. All right, that's a first. Number 3, in life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
That's a difficult question.
You're too laid back.
Right. I do know this. I'm a proper clean freak. Like, proper
I can't
clean
tell
freak.
that from how clean your room is. I mean,
Other
it's
way.
all
There you
white
go.
and there's no dirt anyway. But continue.
So, have you seen like those videos on TikTok where people like sort out drawers and make them super neat? And they
I
like
don't
put like the
really.
trays in like they put like all the like they make products in trays and then put them into a drawer and it's all just so neat.
Yeah, like Marie Kondo kind of minimalism. Yes.
Like those, I'm obsessed with those at the moment. That is what gets me
Yeah.
excited.
God forbid you ever get roommated with someone who's a bit of a pig. Because one side of the room will be completely neat, sparkling, the other side will look like a
Exactly.
bomb hit it. That'd be terrible. Okay. All right. Then question 4, that was what turns you on. Question 4 is what turns you off.
Probably slow walkers.
Do you want to elaborate on that? I mean, you're 5'11", you got long legs, so I imagine
I
you like to.
do.
So you don't like to
Like,
take your time. You like to
no,
stride
like
off
I'm
and.
like speed walking all the time. Like if I'm walking somewhere, I'm walking somewhere with a purpose,
Okay.
Like I'm not just doing a casual stroll. I'm like running. So when I'm stuck behind someone who's just really taking their time and really slow, it really annoys me.
Have you ever thought about how that's sort of contradictory, that you're so laid back, yet when you walk, you have to run? How does
I
that
know it's
happen?
weird. Like I walk with a purpose. Like I've got like usually I've got somewhere to go, so that's why I'm like running. So
Okay. It's not because you're always running late. It's just because you've got a
maybe.
purpose. Maybe. Okay. All right. Number 5, what sound or noise do you love?
Oh, I know this one. When you're inside and you can hear rain really hitting on a window,
Mm.
that sound. I love the sound of like rain hitting on a window and you're inside. It just sounds lovely.
I like the sound, but if I have to go out in that rain, then I
You
don't
don't like
really
the
like that
sound.
sound.
Yeah.
No. It's good when you're going to sleep, but when you have to
Yes.
wake up to it, it's like, oh God, okay.
No.
Number 6, what sound or noise do you hate?
People chewing in my ear. Like, when people like eating in your ear?
Hmm.
I don't like that
Don't
at
like it?
all.
You
Like
don't like
say like
that wet chewing
oh
sound, and you can hear the food turning over and
you can
over and
and
over.
like when you hear it at first and you can't stop hearing it. And like it's like when people are like eating crisps next to you and you're not eating crisps and you can just hear
Mm,
them munching and it just gets
mm.
louder and like I have to stand up and leave because that's how much it irritates me.
That's not. I had one girl tell me that they had such a bad reaction to loud chewing, they would just break out into tears whenever they heard it.
Like horrible. It is awful.
Okay, so chew with your mouth closed, basically, is
Yes.
what you're saying. All right.
Please.
Number 7, if you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Ooh. Probably teleportation. I think that would be pretty cool. Like just to travel anywhere and just go anywhere without even thinking about it.
That would certainly help save money on air tickets, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Think
Uh,
smarter, not harder.
yeah. Number 8, what job or occupation, other than your own, would you most like to attempt?
Ooh. Maybe I'd like to be an actress. I think that'd be such a cool job. Like I think it'd be awesome, but I know I would forget my words, so I could never do that job.
I'm sure if you practice it enough, you'd be able to remember. Have you ever done done a play or a speech or something?
When I was in like year 6, I got like a lead role in one of the school plays, and
There you go.
I was terrified of doing it. My mum was really excited, and like we'd practice my words every day, and she was like, "There's no way." And every time I would forget something, so I don't think I could. Genuinely, I think I just completely all the time forget my words.
Okay. I reckon you could give it a try. At worst, it would give us a bit of a laugh. Number 9, what job would you definitely not like to attempt?
um, Probably being like a vet or something. Like I think being a vet, like it's I suppose it's like it's a bit of a sad job sometimes when you got to put like animals down, and I love dogs and things like that, so I don't think I could do it. Like I salute the people that do it, but like I just could never.
Yeah, that makes sense. Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Ooh. Probably something like, you took your time. Because I know it sounds like cringy and stuff, but my great-grandparents, they lived into like their late 90s and stuff. So I would like to have like a long, fulfilled life, you know? So I'd like him to say, well, you took your time.
And why do you walk so quickly everywhere?
If
If you want God to say that you took your time, why are you always running everywhere? So
And
next
now
time
you're not running to come here.
yeah, next time you're stuck behind a slow post, and remember what you just said, and just take your time, right? Just
Yeah,
walk
exactly.
slowly.
I'll just remember those words.
They're
And when
your
they
words.
get to the place, they'll say to me, you took your time.
Absolutely. Well, Olivia, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me on again. Thank you.
And best of luck in Vietnam. I'm sure you will enjoy yourself. I'll keep you on the line for just a second whilst I hang up with the audience. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open. So if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there, and see you in the next video.